everyone hates Donald Trump so much that it's.
I'm looking for my
he
TDS
just
pills.
Does. He
I'm
just does.
I'm
what
looking for my
everybody
TDS
else
pills.
Does. So Harvey's yelling. Here, I want you to hear this too,
Harvey's
Harvey.
yelling. Why not go under budget?
But if you didn't need it this year, you shouldn't get it next year.
$93 billion spent in 1 month. How does that sound? You like that, Mike?
That sounds like a lot of money.
Yeah, it
I'll
is a lot of money, and
much,
that's
Charles.
exactly what the Pentagon did last September. Why in the world would Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, approve this? And what they spent the money on is insane. Well, if you haven't heard, the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, signed off on some pretty intense Pentagon spending last September. $93 billion, billion with a B, spent in 1 month. That is crazy. There is kind of an explanation. You know, I mean, look, I've been very critical of some of Hegseth's moves since he's been in office, but this is, I don't know how in the world anybody could possibly defend this, but I think I know someone who might try to mount a defense.
Yeah, here's what I'll tell you, Charles. This is, look, you're probably expect me to go a different way with this here. This is not a Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth issue, but there is a problem here, and it's that government spending is crazy. It is completely out of control. But it's not a Republican issue. This is a lot of people glomming onto this story because they've got a horrible case of Trump derangement syndrome. The reality is,
no. You are not going to try
to
I'm going
to do it. I'm going to do it. Charles, I almost said Harvey's name. I'm so used to arguing with him. Charles, September 2024, Joe Biden's last full year in office.
Yeah.
$11.7 billion spent in the last 5 days of that month. Yes. $104 million spent on meat, fish, and poultry, to include $17 million on ribeyes, $6 million on lobster tails.
That is a lot.
It's out of control spending. It should not happen, but it should not happen under Democrats as well. And we can't simply call it out because we hate Donald Trump.
I am not going to let you try to pawn this off as like, oh, the Democrats did it too. Yes, you're right, they did. But the numbers you just threw up are nothing compared to what Hegseth
Okay, let's see. Give me some of the numbers.
You're right. It is not a Republican thing. It is not a Democrat thing. This is a Hegseth thing, and it is a Trump thing, and here's why. Because even though every September, to give you guys the full context here, yes, every September is the end of the fiscal year for the government, and all government departments have a certain amount of money that is basically you either spend it or you lose it.
Right. So you don't carry it over until the next month of the next year. It's gone.
And if you spend it, your fear is that you're not going to get that money in funding next year.
To lower your budget.
So everybody spends it, right? Now, what was the number you said that Biden in his last year?
$11.7 billion in the last 5 business days.
$11.7 billion.
Yes.
Do you know last September what Hegseth signed off on in the last 5 days? $50 billion.
It's a little bit more.
A little more. It's 5 times more, Mike. 5 times more. So $50 billion.
It's an outrageous
$50 billion
amount
in just
of money.
the last 5 days, and $93 billion over the entire month. Let's go over what he decided to spend that money on.
Let's hear some of these.
Let's talk about. You want to start with food?
Yeah, let's do food.
How about food, Mike?
I like food. Let's do food.
How about $2 million in Alaskan king crab?
Okay.
$6.9 million on lobster tail. I like lobster, but
right.
I don't know if I like that much lobster.
Right.
$15 million on ribeye steak.
Okay, so they spent $2 million. Biden's administration is eating a lot better because they actually had $2 million more worth of ribeyes.
What they have on Alaskan king crab?
$17 million in ribeyes.
How about their Alaskan king crab budget?
I don't have the Alaskan king crab.
Yeah,
maybe they didn't like king
crab. And Hegseth is known to be a fan of shellfish.
Can I just interject?
He's pretty shellfish when it comes to spending.
Can I just interject here? The way this has also been framed is that Hegseth is at his home and he's kicking back and he's got $20 million worth of seafood. That's not the case here. This is oftentimes these soldiers being fed these treats, these really expensive foods.
The food does generally go to the troops. This is not. It's not in a deep freeze in Hegseth's basement.
Right.
Agreed.
Right. Some of it might be, but
but it is really still ridiculous spending, all right? I'm not
I
saying
agree.
that our troops don't deserve great food, but do they deserve,
I agree.
Rather, do they need $7 million worth of lobster tail?
I agree, Charles, because I understand people look at their paychecks and they say, hey, I'm paying, in some cases, 50% of my money is going to the government, and then it's being spent or it's being wasted on a grand piano. I understand how frustrating. See, I'm bringing things up.
Let's get
I'm
to
helping
the grand
you.
piano.
I'm helping Charles's argument here.
So you're right. The grand piano. So musical instruments in general, 1.8 million went to that. Again, this is all just in September of 2025. 1.8 million. Most of that, the biggest thing, is a $100,000 grand piano that went to the Air Force Chief of Staff's home.
Right.
This is not something for the troops.
Right.
Right? I mean, unless he's having troops over and having concerts every night.
Right. The bigwigs, if anybody. I get that that's frustrating.
$26,000 violin. Now I know why I didn't play violin when I was a kid. And a $21,000 handmade flute.
We should say this one. These are military members. These are not politicians, first of all. So sure, it's a Republican administration, but these, Air Force, these are non-political people.
Right.
I get it. It's too much money. My only point is that it's not just a Trump and Hegseth thing. That this is something that's been happening for years. Obama
You're
regularly.
Right. It happens under every administration.
Charles, every September, Obama administration was known to spend between $300 and $400 million on furniture.
Oh,
I'm
glad you brought up furniture, Mike. Right,
what do we got?
Again,
what do we got?
You're right. Every administration does this, but not to this extreme.
How much?
These numbers are crazy. I will say this: Hegseth's furniture budget is below average.
Okay. See?
The average since 2008 that the Department of Defense spends on furniture, just in September, when they're trying to burn through this money, the average is $257 million on furniture. Hegseth brought it in at $225. Ooh. So look at that.
Bargain.
There's your savings. And again, this is all furniture. It's labeled, most of it is labeled as office furniture.
Yeah.
And look, the Pentagon is a big place, and they've got to furnish all the bases, and I get it. But come on. I guess to your point, Mike, is if you're not spending $90 billion during the year, then maybe the budget doesn't need to be that big overall, right?
I agree.
And now you've burned through, so last September, you burned through this $90 billion. We were not at war.
Right.
And now suddenly we're at war, right?
Yeah.
And you got to spend, how much are we spending? Almost $1 billion every day on this war.
Yes.
So maybe you shouldn't have burned it on, $7 million in lobster tail.
I agree, but there was really no recourse. There was nothing they could do, though, Charles, because we know the rules are the rules, and you can't carry that money over. So I think the obvious answer here is that the rules, the regulations need to be changed. You need to be able to carry that money over. Don't force these administrations to spend the money on nonsense. And that. Harvey's yelling. Harvey, here, I want you to hear this too, Harvey.
Yelling, why not go under budget? Why not go under budget?
Listen to me.
But Harvey.
But you're not going to get the same amount next year. But if you didn't need it this year, you shouldn't get it next year.
But
hold on.
No business operates like that.
Wow. Don't make me agree with Babcock, Harvey.
By the way,
Harvey, do not make me agree with Babcock.
If we have a budget and we go under, they're not going to say, "Oh, we'll reward you and give you the same amount." They're going to look at that and say, "Well, they can do it for less."
Right.
No, and that's the way businesses should work.
That's how it works in the private sector. It doesn't work in the government that way. And you're right.
But it should.
And you're right. It should. However, you know what that would mean, Mike?
What?
So if they didn't spend the $90 billion last September, and then they got less in the budget, and then suddenly we go to war, you know what he has to do in order to get that money back? Oh, you got to go to Congress. And that's the last thing he's going to do, right?
Right. Well,
Yeah, exactly.
Just like Barack Obama,
just
money. Like Joe Biden. Here's my point. Everyone hates Donald Trump so much that it's
I'm looking for my TDS pills. I'm looking for my TDS pills. And guess what? I can't find them, Mike. So we're out of luck, aren't we?
We did this whole story on the website. We've got Hegseth with the lobsters and the art. Do you think we said a single word when Joe Biden did it or when Barack Obama did it? Of course
Because
not.
it wasn't record spending when they did it.
Yes, it was.
We've already pointed out he is
There's
more
a new
than
record,
doubled,
sure.
more than tripled, more than quadrupled the spending of all those other administrations, and that's the problem.
Well, that was just in the last 5 days. Unfortunately, I don't have the total spending in September.
The total for the month
Yeah.
is way more than
I
is
would
a
probably
record.
agree with that.
It is a record. Congratulations, Secretary of War. Nobody is more shellfish than you are.